our next guest is there, sitting in the boys' center at UGA, wearing his dog paraphernalia. It's Brendon Todd, PGA Tour winner. Brendon, thanks for joining us on the show. How are you?
Doing great, Mark. It's great to be on your show. I love what you're doing in golf.
Oh, thanks, my friend. Look, I'm lucky to have known you for a long time. I appreciate you accepting my invitation just a little while ago. But for our global audience who might not know who Brendon Todd is, I want you to give folks just a quick kind of bio, who you are, where you're from, how you came to where you are as a multiple PGA Tour winner.
Yeah, that's great. Brendon Todd, third child of three boys. I was fortunate to grow up with two older brothers. Born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We moved to Cary, North Carolina when I was 11, which was just amazing for my golf game. I was able to start playing year round.
Okay.
At a wonderful country club, Prestonwood Country Club there, where the SAS Championship is, the Champions Tour event. So I was really fortunate in my youth to have two older brothers and three golf courses to go play with year-round golf weather and really hone my craft. And so I came up through the AJGA junior golf ranks, was fortunate to get a scholarship offer to play at University of Georgia, which I happily jumped on. And, I was able to come here and have tremendous success with some other great players like Chris Kirk, Kevin Kisner, Brian Harmon, Hudson Swafford were all guys on my teams here. And we won the national championship in 2005 and two SEC championships while I was here. And those were really special times. So for me to move my family back here to Athens and raise my kids around the Georgia golf program and all the Georgia sports and this wonderful town of people we have here has been really special.
You're being awfully modest, and folks, this is what he's normally like. You were a standout junior when you were in North Carolina. You don't stumble onto a scholarship to UGA back then when the team was that stout. And then you were a four-time All-America in college. So I guess my first question, helping parents, yourself, I see the pitching, chipping area in your back garden. You got kiddos who are into golf. Looking back on those days, I think parenting good, talented golfers or athletes is kind of a challenging deal. So what advice would you have to, people like you and me with kids or parents listening to this who kind of trying to guide their youngster through the ranks, please?
Well, I'd say first and foremost, get a golf club in their hand as soon as you can.
Right.
So even if it's something simple like one of those plastic little Tykes clubs with a rubber ball, give them something to go out there and swing from an early age, because that's sort of like where I think my son fell in love with it. And even me as a little one, just always having a club to go whack around the house. And then, as they start to get older and maybe get the bug at age 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, whatever the age, hopefully that they maybe start to develop a passion for golf. Access with golf is probably the most difficult part. Not everybody in the world has access to a great practice facility or a country club. So whether it's a public range or, like me and my brothers used to go chip the golf ball around the house and try and see who could hit it closest to the tree. So, maybe just interacting with your kids and trying to get them to develop that passion for chipping the ball or pitching the ball close to something. Maybe it's going to the driving range and getting them a lesson with the local pro. But, golf is a game that has to be practiced. It has to be played. It has to be early, and it has to be pretty often. But I would say that, you want your kids to be playing sports because they love playing sports, that they do it because it's their joy, it's their passion, it's what they like to do with their siblings or their friends, or what they like to do to be outside. And so for me, I'm all about trying to create things outside for my kids to develop passions for. So whether that's doing cartwheels in the grass or doing cartwheels on our putting green. I remember during COVID, my daughters were doing dance routines on the putting green. So, I just think with kids, you've got to let them lead you and follow their passion. But if it's golf that you want to play or want them to at least learn, it's something that has to be early and often.
I contend to keep it just on the subject, being the older brother of a young golfer like you with a third of three. My younger brother turned out pretty well. Would contend that, competition and just playing is not a bad thing, because I think perhaps in the era that we live in where it's all data and stuff, that perhaps it's a bit too much practice and not enough playing and competitiveness. Are you with me on that?
100%. So, I think if we're talking about kids that already had developed, hey, I like golf. Mom, Dad, I want to play golf. getting them around other kids their age where they can go out and play and compete and, do more playing than practice time in those formative years, age 10, 11, 12, 15, 18, I think is really important. And I see it here at the University of Georgia. I hang around the Georgia golf team all the time. And I think we were even guilty when I was in school because we have a nice practice facility. Guys come out and they hit their bag of range balls. They do some chipping. They do a 4-foot putting drill, and they're like, "I did my practice for the day." And instead of saying, "I'm going to go out and play 9 and see what score I can shoot," or "I'm going to challenge my buddy to a match," they say, "Yeah, I did my hour and a half of practice," and they leave. But I think the most valuable thing you can do is spend time on the golf course. If you have somebody to compete against, that's great. Even if it's just against yourself and you need to go out there and play 2 balls and play the worst ball, that's a great drill for them to have.
Well, look, you and Kirky and Brian Harmon and Hud Swafford and all crowd. I mean, you guys are kind of the case study, and all of us PGA Tour announcers speak about this ad nauseum because it was like there's a plethora of you. There's thousands of Georgia golfers on tour. And that was basically bred, in my opinion, again, of all the competition back in the college days.
Absolutely. I think Coach Hack and Coach Douglas did a great job recruiting guys that were those competitors. Brian Harmon grew up playing baseball. Russell Henley was a good basketball player. Me and Kirk were constant competitors, good athletes when we were kids. And when you get to school at the University of Georgia, you're forced to compete and qualify for every spot on the team. And so every team of 5 that would travel to a tournament, they were the top 5 qualifiers. So there are no spots handed out here. We're constantly forced to compete. And the only practice game that Coach Hack and Douglas really ever had us do was a chipping and putting 9-hole course that they would set up and see who could shoot the lowest score. So again, competition, who can get the ball in the hole the fastest.
And I just love the short game element of it. More about that in a minute. Okay, you get done with college, 4-time All-America, to the nationwide tour, then Korn Ferry Tour, and you win in your first year, and you earn your way onto the tour in 2008. Then you play some on the PGA Tour, but then it's back to the Korn Ferry Tour. So there's this sort of on again, off again, on again, off again thing you had going on for a while. And that's a tough place to be, sort of that purgatory between the 2 tours. First off, is the separator to you between the Korn Ferry guys and the PGA Tour player, or is there such a thing?
Well, I think that, I was actually speaking with Franklin Langham here the other day because his son is playing
The star as well.
Great guy.
Yeah.
And he was rehashing at his PGA Tour orientation. Kurt Triplett spoke. He said, "Welcome to the PGA Tour, where you're going to play against the best players in the world on their home courses." And I think that I was guilty that my first year on tour, I was out there playing golf courses I'd never played, set up to a championship level against the best players in the world who were picking their schedule and knew the golf courses. And so I struggled. I finished 183rd on the money list. I got relegated back to the nationwide tour, Korn Ferry Tour. And the struggle of the PGA Tour, it was really my first big struggle in golf in my career. Basically from 10 till I was 22, I just consistently got a little bit better every year. And I became a first-team All-American in junior golf my senior year. I became a first-team All-American in college golf my senior year. And then all of a sudden I hit the big time. And maybe my game wasn't sharp enough, or my mind wasn't sharp enough, or something wasn't quite ready for the PGA Tour. So I had to go back to the nationwide tour. And I had a big slump there in 2010. I missed every cut because the PGA Tour, the challenge, kind of beat me up a little, made me feel like I needed to change.
Okay.
So then I was able to rebuild my game in 2011, finish top 75, go to Q School and win, get back on the PGA Tour in 2012. So it was a big slump that I worked my way out of, and it was sort of all success and a nice rise from there until 2016, where maybe I had played some majors and some World Golf Championship events, and again, sort of hit my head against the wall. Felt like maybe my game wasn't good enough, tried to reorganize it, got worse, and I had to build it back up again.
Okay, I want to talk about the building it back up because you had almost a conceptual change from what I understand from Brad Hughes about your golf swing. You've always been a dynamite ball striker to me. But, in those ups and downs that you had, there are 2 things I want to visit. look, there are always those bright spots, and then there's always the darkest of days when it's like, oh,
Right.
I'm kind of done with this thing. First off,
Mhm.
you're the only guy, and this, folks, how accurate Brendon Todd is. You're the only guy to make 2 aces on the same hole in a golf tournament. Now, you speak of home courses. It was ostensibly a home course for you in the Korn
Mhm.
Ferry event, the nationwide event in Athens. You aced the 17th twice in one tournament. Uh, Come on now, really?
Oh, it was unbelievable. Yeah. So it was the 2009. I think back then they called it the Athens Regional Classic at Jennings Mill. It was a golf course we played a lot of qualifying rounds on in college, and I stepped up there with an 8 iron the first or 7 iron the first day and hold it from 165. That was the evening round on Thursday. I came out Friday morning and got out there 153, pulled an 8 iron and ripped it, went right in the hole, and just one of those special moments. But yeah, I mean, when my game's on, 7 iron, 8 iron, 9 iron is my bread and butter. Very accurate. I create all my birdie chances from there, and so Brad Hughes, he did a great job of retapping into the fact that I like to rotate the club face a little bit in my swing and
Mhm.
use that squaring of the club face, that impact with the ground to control my trajectory and the shape of my golf ball.
Yeah.
And that was something I had lost a little bit during the 16, 17, 18 slump. And once Brad got me back there squaring the face up at impact, I became elite again.
You you've just touched on something I wanted to talk about
Mhm.
because look, here's me, golf instructor deep down. I get to
Mhm.
carry a microphone for a living.
Yeah.
Well, golfers are well-meaning if they're aspirate and they want to achieve something. And in this era in which we live, there's just so much going on information-wise. And
Mhm.
golly, for folks who haven't seen on the PGA Tour, there are as many golf instructors out there as what there are players, and
Yeah.
everyone's got their shingle out. So it's really easy to sort of fall for the next sexy thing. And
Yeah.
certain folks with loud voices, if you're not playing very well, it's easy to kind of look this way and that and sort of see who's doing what. So I want you to advise golfers because I feel like that is an a problem, an issue that's not really addressed by a lot of players, and a lot of players are helping themselves into worse form because they're trying to do something they cannot necessarily do, as you described.
Absolutely. All the best golf I've played has been played sort of with blinders on to golf swing adjustment.
All
You
right.
know, when I'm playing my bet, like I worked with Scott Hamilton in 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. But in 13, 14, 15, when I'm playing my best, I more or less would tell him, I feels good, coach. I don't need you to say much.
All right.
And the second I start to say, hey, what is it you were working on with Boo Weekley or Chris Kirk or Stephen Bowditch, whoever it was at the time, and I started to explore those things, was where I started to get in trouble.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, look, you can't get better if you don't try a couple things along the way, but you've got to be so careful when you get to an elite level of golf to know what it is that got you there,
Yeah.
what it is that are your fundamentals that you rely on, and make sure that you don't steer too far away from those, especially at competition.
I was about to say, I mean, look, the shadow side of that is the discipline that takes because goodness, I have my philosophy on the thing. I'm 53, and it's sort of proven to me that what I've believed has been applicable and
Mhm.
successful. But even I turn on social media and I'm like, holy cow, that sounds sexy, man. I
Yeah.
give that some thought. Huh?
Yeah, it's really easy to do. I think the thing is there's a few different ways to swing the golf club. There are a couple key things that everybody does well.
Mhm.
Obviously, impact is the most important part. You have to deliver the club face, square, or whatever your version of square is to create the shot that you want. And I think it's so important that you don't look around too much and say, "Oh, I want to swing like that guy or that guy or that guy," because here's why. Nobody's built the same. Everybody's different height, different arm lengths, strength in different parts of the body, flexible in different parts of the body, and they grew up digging it out of a different piece of dirt.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, digging it out of the dirt is the name of the game, and you've got to really rely on your own experience and your own skill set when you're building up your golf game.
All right, folks, I'm going to show the golf nerd within now, swing nerd, and speak to someone who's been there, who's tried it both. Because
Hmm.
again, if their watch phrases, their buzzwords out in the internet of golf right now, and there's early extension, and then there's a big one, rate of closure. Now,
Mm.
folks, the guy on your screen or the guy on your radio right now or your earpiece, he can drive it up a gnat's rear end. I mean, you didn't miss a fairway for 3 rounds, and 3 rounds at the Travelers in 2020, right?
Yeah.
Um, but you allow the face to rotate a little open, and you allow it to rotate it shut. But man, you are so accurate. Where folks are like, well, no, you got to have less rotation of the face through contact if you want to be accurate and compress the ball. Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, club face rotation is the freedom that allows me to accelerate my body, my arms, and the club face through impact. If I don't have club face rotation, then I don't have my ability to free myself up to swing aggressively with my body. Versus some people like to keep the face square so they can swing aggressively with their body to open up. And I don't really know what rate of closure is in the golf swing, so that would be above my pay grade, which is probably a good thing.
All
But
right.
I just know that Brad Hughes did a great job of explaining to me that, you know, if the club face, if the shaft is at 430, you know, it's on your right forearm coming down, and you're accelerating the rate of closure of the golf club into impact, then you can go real hard with your body and hit the ball straight.
I'm glad you sort of defined what it was, because if the face is more closed, not
Mm-hmm.
Brendon Todd style, then you got to rotate the body harder. If the face is more open, then you got to kind of wait for it more and accelerate the
Mm-hmm.
ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you guys have done very well too is, and Brendon still does this, people. I see him on the range and I giggle because you have the down underboard between your legs.
Yeah.
Whereas you see some shot guys, they're rotating hard and they're popping off the ground. You
Mm-hmm.
plug to the turf and your legs are strong underneath you to allow
Mm-hmm.
you to go ahead and release that club face. So talk about that, please.
Yeah, the down under board's been great for me. Basically, what I'm trying to do is squeeze the board between my feet on the way down. On the way back, I'm pushing the pressure with my left foot against the board as a right-hander, trying to get a little bit of weight shift into my right leg. And on the way down, I'm pushing the board together with my feet, trying to get that right knee, that right leg to drive down through the golf ball, while the left leg is supporting and pushing up off the ground. And you know, for me, and I think for everybody, I don't think anybody's hit on it and been like, oh, that's terrible or wrong. It's just one of those things that keeps me grounded, which then allows my arms, my hands, and the club face to really be aggressive and work down through the shot.
Yeah.
It's been good for me.
Yeah. And I think there's a misunderstanding perhaps too, because look, I've watched you often. I'm a swing junkie. I've got some video of folks, and you've opened up pretty well through contact. It's just that you're not open beyond your personal sort of boundary for success. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. You know, but everybody's flexibility or amount they need to be open at impact is different. And so for me, I'm trying to use the ground to control the ground so I can square the face through the golf ball and really control my shape and my trajectory.
You hit a lot of greens in regulation, and your proximity numbers are good. I mean, I think when last I looked this year, you're inside the top 25.
Yeah.
That's with the iron game. Do you advocate, or do you, when you're playing, kind of go just to one shape, or do you hit what's necessary, or do you play defensive, aggressive? Talk about the strategy of hitting approach shots and finding lots of greens in regulation.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look around the tour, the strategy is to play the shot that you're most comfortable with
Okay.
to a spot on the green that you're also comfortable that you can hit. And if you do miss it to your miss a little bit, it's still going to be on the green. So I would say I'm not shaping the golf ball into the pin right to left, or left to right as often as some might think. I'm with my short irons, I'm going to stick to that tight little 3-yard draw, and I'm going to let it turn a little bit left to the right pins, and I'm going to turn it a little bit right to left towards the left pins. And then if you do have a shot that might need to stop faster with the 5 and 6 irons, then I'm happy to hit a high fade that might land a little bit quicker. But I'm really just utilizing that to get the golf ball to stop on the green. We're looking to hit the green.
You spoke of them earlier. You talked about your like 7, 8, 9 irons and wedges, kind of
Yeah.
green lighters. So I guess then by definition, then if you've got 6, 5, 4, 3
Yeah.
and below, that's more not defensive, but it's not like you're really going after flag locations and stuff then, yes?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where the pin is. You know, when the pins are center left, with every club in my bag, it's
Yeah.
green light.
All
You
right.
know, you're trying to hit it as close as you can. When they're tucked back right, unless I've got 9 iron or less, I'm probably not really going at it, because that's a pin that's going to be difficult to stop it really close, and you're going to put yourself in more trouble by missing the green there. So, I think everybody's got their favorite flags. For me, it's sort of left center, back left, front left. And I just think I think the key is developing your strength. And the strength for me, like I said, is, wedges, 7, 8, 9 iron, be really good, really accurate with those. And if you know that's your strength, then you can attack with those and be a little more conservative with the others. And I think the Ryder Cup was actually a good example of that. Statistically, the Europeans say they're a better long iron player team than Americans, but the Americans are a better wedge player team. So they did a lot. They shortened a couple par fours to make them drivable, and they lengthened some other holes, played the par threes long to make them more of a middle to long iron contest, and it worked out for them.
Yeah, there's such nuance to the game, and I think it's not as black and white as what a lot of people think.
Right.
So along those lines, then, I want to ask about this before I get to some of the wins and just how you've kind of turned your tide. You're a fixture on the PGA Tour and a contender almost week in and week out whenever you play. In 2020, and I referenced the event, the Travelers Championship, we were on the call there. And you were leading through 54 holes. It was a shot, and you were just playing your game, putting in the fairway, taking your chances. And then in the final round, you paired alongside Dustin Johnson, I believe it was.
Yes.
And look, it didn't work out as well as what you would have wanted, but you were in contention. The lesson I want you to share, and what I would love to hear from you is, here's Brendon Todd, who is long enough. You got clubhead speed of 107-ish, maybe 108.9, right? And then DJ, who's just a flat out missile launcher. Staying in your lane and playing your game in a situation like that, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in someone who hits it like that, like a Rory too.
Absolutely.
Help us, please.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I will say one thing that helps is I literally am incapable of swinging at 120. So, I'm 30, and at the time I was 35 years old, so I knew that, and I did a great job of sticking to my guns, and that's hitting the ball to the middle of the face, down the middle of the fairway, and whether Dustin's hitting driver or 3 iron off the tee does not affect me. And my job is to hit fairways and attack with my short irons.
All right.
And I'm proud of myself. I mean, I hit a beautiful wedge into number 2 that day that spun all the way left off the green. I hit a beautiful wedge into 6 that lipped out when it spun back. I missed the putt. So I hit great approach shots that day that just didn't go my way, didn't lead to birdies.
Yeah.
And then I did miss one approach shot on 12, ended up with a really tough lie, and I made a double or something and kind of fell back a little bit. And that, but I stuck to my guns and I focused on hitting fairways and attacking with my short irons. And I think that, that discipline does come with age. It does come through the slumps, because probably why I got in the slumps was, well, can I hit the ball a little bit further, or can I hit the ball a little bit more pure so that I can contend, or I can become more Dustin or Rory like? And at the end of the day, it wasn't in the cards for me. And my path back was digging into the accuracy of the game. And I've now proven to myself and to many others that accuracy wins. Distance is a luxury. And
I'm going to write that down.
Accuracy wins. Distance is a luxury. Even the longest guys have to be accurate. And the best players, the longest players in the world on the PGA Tour are the most accurate bombers in the world. There are 1,000 people that can fly the ball 300 yards. There's only, a smaller number, 100 or less now, that can fly at 300 yards in play often enough and have the tools to win in the professional game. And so I think that that's so important for people to realize that it's one thing to bomb it, but you better be accurate. No matter what, you better be accurate.
And it sounds trite, but people, I'm 53. I've been in golf since I was 13. That's 40 years. 41 years in golf. I've never seen a bad middle of the fairway or a bad middle of the green in regulation either. Yes.
That's exactly right.
Hey, look, I think it was COVID, perhaps, we had a lot of time. I was podcasting and cruising around social media a bunch. And I saw some of you in your basement doing some speed drills. And I asked you about them, and you're like, I sped up some, and you think you got it to like the mid-1 teens, I think it was.
Yeah.
Clubhead speed wise. And then I'm like, well, okay. And then you said, but not on the golf course, not in a tournament. I just can't do it. I'd love you to tell the story, please.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say Brad's drill. So Brad Hughes has a drill series that was fantastic for me. It helped me revive my golf game.
Right.
And it's a bunch of impact bag drills. It's the down under board, and those drills helped me form a wonderful golf swing that's repeatable and very accurate. It also gave me the confidence to feel like, okay, if I do want to add a little bit of speed, let's try one of these speed sticks or the stack system or the ripstick and see if I can't learn how to create just a little more speed in the golf swing. So I was pretty strategic to try to pick maybe the first month of a 2-month break and see if I could build up some speed. Yeah. And I tried all three of them. I've tried speed sticks, stack, and ripstick on 3 separate occasions. I was always able to get the device to go faster, and I was able to make my driver swing go faster, my club head speed. But when I go to the golf course, I don't square the face as well, and I'm not as accurate. Now, maybe that's because I like to rotate the face and I'm not a shut face player. But for me, it just made me less accurate to the point where I almost always would go back and say, well, I tried it. I'm glad I tried it, but I need to set that aside, because for me to contend on the PGA Tour, it's about accuracy and hitting fairways and being accurate with my short irons, not about how far I can fly it. So for me, I have just found that the speed sticks don't help me enough versus the risk of missing fairways.
That's just so savvy, and I'm sure everyone watching this or listening to this is like, yeah, he's making sense. Still get wrapped up in the whole power thing of it all,
right.
Which
right.
is speaking of accuracy, you've had multiple wins. Before I get to a couple that happened in a row, which is like catching lightning in a bottle on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Back in 2014, it was your first win on tour, and it was at the then HP Byron Nelson. It's now the 18th Byron Nelson. I was a brand new announcer. Basically, I'd been 2 years, I think, in it in radio, and I had you playing through the week, and you were playing pretty well. We get in the final round there, and you hanging around. Eventually, you win the tournament, first win, which was cool. And there were some tough shots coming in. The tee shot on 18, found the fairway, and you hit all the shots that you needed to.
Yeah.
But there was a shot back there, and we joked about it the other day. Par 3, 13th uphill, Dallas, the wind's blowing, and you flush one straight through the green against a tree.
Yeah.
And you hit this upside down, backhanded 7-iron chip shot to just a feet away to make par. And to me, Brendon, it's one of the shots that I will always remember for as long as I live. So please walk us through that.
Yeah, man, you're dead right. It was that par 3, 14, I think, at TBC Las Colinas, and I hit it long left of the green up against the tree, and I'm stymied. I mean, I can't stand there right-handed. I could have maybe hit it backhanded, and I said to my caddy, I said, "Give me the 4-iron. I'm going to putt this lefty." And I'm fortunate to have a brother-in-law who's left-handed, so I've putted with his left-handed putter a bunch. So I just take the 4-iron and I use the back of the blade because it's nice and flat, and I hold it cross-handed, and I just tap it. I put it up over this mound. It's rolling down to the right. And I mean, I'll be darned if that thing didn't roll to 6 feet. And I'm like, okay, I've got a good chance at par here. And I went and rolled it in and carried that momentum on to the last 5 holes and 4 holes, and was able to come away with the win. But that shot was, it was a shot I hadn't practiced with a 4-iron. It's a shot that you just never dream of having in that situation. But the fact that I was able to pull it off was so special.
Well, I think you said you hadn't practiced it, but you had putted left-handed. So
yeah,
it does highlight to folks that, you got to practice for every eventuality, don't you think?
Oh, I think, I see it. We had a guy out here as an elite ball striker on the Georgia team the other day practicing right after a tournament. And he did his work, and then, he was hitting some really fun, creative, goofy shots. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. This guy has put in some good work today, and now he's just going to go have some fun and hit some creative shots. And I think that's an element of practice in the game that people need to continue to harness, because you just don't know what golf's going to throw at you. A side hill lie, standing up on the side of a bunker, a downhill lie, a left-handed shot, so golf will throw a lot of curveballs at you. And I think it's important to keep that creative mind open.
Right. Well, final question. I'll let you go. Get back to work.
Good.
Bermuda, you're going to see some side hill lies over there.
Oh, yeah.
Crosswinds. And back in, I'm losing track of time. 2 years ago, maybe, I think it was. I shouldn't date this. You win Bermuda, and then you win Mayakoba the week thereafter.
Yeah.
Folks, first off, I just want to talk about this because golf is freaking crazy. You're a guy, what, 7 or 8 years before that lost your card and you didn't make a cut for a while. Now you're winning twice on the PGA Tour. Did you ever just sit back and go, holy cow, this is nuts? Did you
I
ever have
did.
this moment?
Oh my gosh, I had so many of them and so many people that I was communicating with after I won twice that, I mean, you know, it was one of those things. I mean, I'd well up with tears because it was so special to achieve that, because 14 months earlier, I mean, I was really at my wit's end with the game and I didn't have many avenues back. So to be able to find my game, earn my PGA Tour card back, and in that first fall of play, go win back-to-back tournaments was a remarkable turnaround. And like you said, it was kind of lightning in a bottle because I had missed the first 4 cuts that fall, and then finished top 25 at Houston, and then I went to Bermuda and the Mexico Mayakoba Championship and was able to win both of them just with the game we're talking about. I was hitting fairways and greens, I was stuffing wedges, and I was rolling in putts. It was truly special.
Is it true that you considered becoming a restaurant franchisee or something and during
Yeah,
the downtime?
truly. Like one year prior to winning back to back, I was taking 6 weeks off. I was doing Brad's drills in my basement, and I was looking at options of owning a pizza franchise or something else because, you know, I just didn't know what the future had for me in golf. I mean, I was really in a bad place, and so, but the work ethic that I put in with Brad's drills, and Ward Jarvis, my mental coach, to just find the belief and the effort again was, you know, it took a lot. I had to dig down. My wife was really supportive, and you know, once I was able to get that ball rolling, I was able to play elite golf again, which has always been inside me, but I was just kind of getting in the way of it coming out.
I'm glad you mentioned Ward Jarvis. And for folks who don't know who he is, he's been on the show. Um, Fascinating story, bad stutter. And he just
Right.
basically taught himself how not to stutter, understanding the neuro pathways. And now he's a sports psychologist on tour. You talk about Ward, and you have used the term, I think it was, the golf swing yips, because
Hmm.
you didn't feel like you could keep a driver on the golf course.
Right.
You go to a place with crosswinds and crooked fairways and water and hazards and stuff everywhere in Bermuda. And the following week at Mayakoba, there's those plantation, whatever they call them, basically bushes down the side of either fairway.
Hmm.
You just hit the ball down the center of the fairway all the time. So talk about the mental hurdle of that, given that where you had been and then where you could step up there, maybe on the 18th hole with peril everywhere and just fizz one
Yeah.
down.
Well, you know, it took a lot of belief. It really took my ability to move my attention away from what I didn't want to see or feel
Mhm.
to what I did want to feel. And so that phrase, moving my attention well, that Ward introduced me to, helped me key in on using the down underboard feeling in my golf swing under pressure.
Mhm.
So when I look down the fairway on 18 at Mayakoba and I see the bushes on the right that I cannot let my ball fly into if I want to win, I have to then say, okay, I'm going to focus on keeping my feet in the ground and hitting the bag, the impact bag that I've hit so many times,
Yeah.
and that's what gets my golf ball to fly down the middle of the fairway and ultimately lead to the opportunity to get up and down to win the championship. And so it was that perfect combination of Brad's wonderful drills and Ward's, mental Olympics, if you will, of just figuring out how to get your mind focused on the right thing at the right time when you need it.
Quick follow up. Isn't it crazy how we play this game that we love? Drives us nuts. But we love this game and we grade it by our score or by the quality of a shot.
Right.
Yet here you are, where instead of just worrying about where the ball's going to go to, you were like, I'm just going to do what I know works, despite what might happen. I'm sticking in my place here, and I'm doing my thing. That takes a lot of discipline, and I commend you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, like the first question. I mean, you got to teach kids to have fun, control what they can control, and just go execute and enjoy the pressure.
I love it. Look, best of week for the rest of the fall and into the new year. I look forward to seeing you. For folks, if they want to follow Brendon Todd some more, is there social media, website, anything where they can keep up with you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Brendon Todd PGA, and come out on tour and see us. I think we're still putting on a pretty good show on the PGA Tour.
I would say. So it's fun following you. Thanks for your time, man.
You got it. Thanks, Mark.